All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the SIG Docs APAC friendly meeting. I am Jim Angel, one of your co-chairs. And today is August 24th, 2021, depending on where you're at in the world.
It's 25th here. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. I see that we have returning folks, so it's great to see everybody back. And moving on to this week's updates and reminders. This week's PR Wrangler is Tim Bannister. I know Tim is leaving on holiday this week, so we need someone to step in. I don't know if anyone on the call would like to volunteer. Otherwise, it can be just a group effort.
Yeah, I volunteered. I told Tim I would help out a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you, Ray. Ray, you're doing massive duties, launching the 123 release and taking on the Wrangler shift. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And next week is Celeste. As always, approvers, make sure you know your scheduled PR Wrangler shifts. And there's a link in the agenda. So moving on to release 121. Ray, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so the first week of release 123 started on Monday, so we're actually day 2. I'm the 123 release lead. Jesse Butler is the 123 release docs lead. So next week will be the shadow onboarding, and we'll start with the statuses starting next week. There will be one change though, which was something that happened in 122. Some folks, it was Tim and also someone from the comms release team released a blog post code freeze about deprecations. And so this is something that we're going to add in the comms or in the communications handbook, is to add a blog post code freeze of the upcoming deprecations. So that's something to watch out for.
Cool, thank you. And if I recall correctly, the shadow selection process is still underway, or do you know if the shadows have been selected for SIG Docs?
It's finalizing. Final date is Friday, actually. Then we'll notify everyone by Friday and start onboarding next week.
Perfect, thank you. And LKLE, I don't think I've met you before. If you want to introduce yourself, feel free to, but you're not obligated to.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Can hear you.
So my name is Luis. I'm based in Singapore, and this is my first ever open source SIG meeting. So I was just wanted to see how it looks like, because I'm interested to contribute to Kubernetes, and I was interested especially in the SIG documentation. Since I am French, I think I can maybe help the French documentation. That's all.
Awesome. Welcome. Yeah, great to have you, Louis. If there's anything we can do to help out with, we're going to have some time at the end of this meeting for open questions. So happy to help out. Otherwise, glad to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're French in Singapore, you said?
Yes, I am French and I'm working in Singapore.
Okay, that's why you came on the APAC meeting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for visiting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely. Cool. So moving on, is there any issues or PRs that folks would like to discuss? Right now, there's currently none.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep. Hey, Shiming.
Hi.
Hello, man.
One thing I did not. Yeah. Hi. One thing I did notice is that we are facing an issue when translating the upstream English documentation. We saw some PRs moving pages around. This is a very big challenge for the localization team, because we need to check where this page has been moved. So this kind of PRs may have to go under some kind of supervision. So it is a big headache for us.
Do you happen to have one of the PRs or examples to link? I think this is one of those things where we're not necessarily, shaming or punishing people for doing this. I think this is an educational opportunity to say, like, this is the best way to do localization. Here's how other teams have done it. And so I want to be very clear. We're not punishing the team doing it, but we want to raise visibility to the folks that are doing it so we can correct course. And so if you have an example, that'd be great.
Yeah, one thing maybe we can do is to label such kind of PRs with label such as a big change, send out a notice to the localization teams, so they are aware. Okay, this one is special. It needs some attention.
And are you talking about localization teams moving content? Or are you talking about the English? The current
The
main
English.
branch. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still, if you have an example of some of the major moves, it'd be great to call it out or add it to the PR or add it to the agenda if you have a second.
I can find one.
Yeah, I think it was one of the garbage collector ones. PRs that was moved around.
Right, the GC ones. Yeah, that one was big.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, if you could throw that in the chat there or in the agenda, that'd be awesome. And then I'm thinking and this kind of leads us into the next couple of topics here, discussion. So let me just pause there. Any other issues or PRs folks would like to talk about? Cool. So this is the first meeting that we are hosting since I sent out the email where basically we lost 2 other chairs. I shouldn't say we lost. They stepped down due to other outside responsibilities. And I sent out the email saying that SIG Docs is in need of help. We need more contributors. We need more co-chairs. There's a bunch of other open roles. And so what I'm doing in collaboration with Paris, part of the steering committee, is working with all the new contributors that have joined SIG Docs recently and some folks who are interested in taking on more of a leadership role. And we're designing a mentorship program that will start to clarify some of the roles within SIG Docs, find any areas that could be improved, and really start to build a wider team and a wider team of leadership. And I think this is an area that has been commonly kind of not well maintained, and I'm partially to blame for that. And what we're doing now is saying, if we had a wish list of what could be done or a better way to organize docs, here's the approach that we can take. And then just to be very clear, none of these decisions are happening behind closed doors. They'll be happening outside and open in front of the community at Slack stand-ups and things of that nature. So when I look at problems like what Jiming brought up as far as the localization and major content things moving, this is a great opportunity for some of these folks who are just joining us or new contributors to start establishing more of a role and take an active role in saying, we're going to label these new changes. We're going to label as a reviewer when we see big content with this. And I feel like we're starting to correct the ship without using too many ship analogies for a Kubernetes meeting. We're starting this correct course here and we're making progress, but it's going to be a longer journey. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not like this problem is going to be fixed, within a few weeks or months. And so what you're going to see is a little bit of growing pain as we figure out what works and what doesn't work. And so that leads me to my next point here as far as the meeting times. And so I just want to go on record and I want to explain how we're managing meetings today and where I think we could potentially go. And so what we have is we used to have a weekly meeting. We moved it to bi-weekly, which means that it's 2 times a month or once every other week. And one of the challenges that we face is prior to that, when we had weekly meetings, when we had this scheduled APAC meeting, we would cancel the normal scheduled SIG Docs meeting. And so now the problem we run into is now that we're bi-weekly, when this meeting occurs and we cancel the main one, that means that the regular scheduled meeting won't meet in a 4-week period. Because basically, if you think about how it skips, we're basically losing those 4 weeks there. And so I don't have a solution just yet. I just want to raise awareness about how we got here. But as a result of this, we have this really funky schedule where even the APAC meeting is a little bit challenging to schedule. It's not quite the 4th Tuesday. It is the 4th Wednesday of the month based on UTC time. And sometimes that can screw up the calendars. It can screw up when the APAC meeting lands. And so that's a very long-winded way of saying, I want to get us to the point where our meetings aren't confusing. I want to get us to the point where you know when APAC meets, you know when the regular SIG docs meet, you know when the localization meets, you know when the various times are. It's accountable, it's reliable, you can add it to your calendar, and you're not constantly having to figure out, oh, is it the standard time meeting? Is it the APAC time meeting? And having to juggle that. So more to come there. I feel like there's going to be a lot of changes in SIG docs for the better. And I really look for folks like y'all in the community to voice your input, give feedback, let us know if there's any areas we can help improve as we start to build out the team a little bit more and improve the overall capacity of SIG docs leadership. So I'm going to stop there. Any questions, comments, feedback? Like I said, I sent out kind of a very large email. And I want to make sure I can address any comments or concerns, considering this is the first time we've met.
So Jim, it sounds to me that we have already had a decision that the community meeting will go bi-weekly, right?
Correct. Yeah. So that was just basically the decision to go bi-weekly was due to the fact that I was a single co-chair present for SIG docs. And it was just unmaintainable and unmanageable to meet weekly at the current capacity. So we just made the somewhat of an emergency decision just to say, we're going to go bi-weekly for right now. We're going to alleviate that workload from myself and some of the other tech leads. Now, that isn't to say that once we grow the contributor capacity that we couldn't go back to a weekly model. It's just unsustainable today. So that is something that the community could help decide.
Yeah. So then for the APAC meeting, maybe we can go bi-monthly.
I really think we could potentially do something like the last Thursday of the month, or maybe the first Thursday of the month, or I'm thinking of a way that we could potentially have it not relying on UTC time, because we find that, well, it will be pinned to UTC time because that's very important, but it's not reliant on the day of the week based on UTC. If we did the first Friday or the last Friday, for example, that's going to make it a lot easier to schedule. And it's going to make it a lot more consistent every single month. So I think we can keep it monthly, but we might move it to, let's say, a Thursday and the last Thursday of a month, for example, as opposed to instead of the fourth Thursday. Because that's the problem right now, just so I'm clear, is that the issue is we say the fourth Tuesday, which is really the fourth Wednesday based on UTC time. And what I'd like to shift to is a model where we actually call a time period in the month as opposed to an actual number, if that makes sense.
I don't have any problem moving the meetings to the same weekday.
Cool. Any other preference as far as one thing that did come up too is I know folks are in various time zones. So depending, this could be extremely early, extremely late. It's hard to find a time that meets for everybody, but in general, for the folks that are attending here, I'd imagine they say this time works, but is there a preference between it being earlier or later? Cool. Well, not hearing too much. And I imagine if we're all here attending that it's working for us, but that means that there are folks that probably wanted to attend that couldn't due to it being too early or too late.
Should this be, sorry. Should that question be on Slack just so that we could take a poll?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this should be definitely raised up in Slack. And like I said to that email I sent out, is we're going to be evolving and growing here, and we're going to, it's going to be an iterative process. You know, we're going to help expand the contributor capacity. We're going to start defining roles a little bit more clearly. And I feel like we're going to, you know, get things back into a shape that is maintainable and where it's not, you know, burning out folks. Cool. Any other questions, comments on the state of SIG docs, the meetings? Like I said, I recognize the meetings are crazy right now. They're going to get better. We're going to figure it out, make it a little bit more steady, but just bear with us in this transitional period. Cool. Those were the comments that I wanted to share. Any other things that folks would like to discuss?
So LK, Ellie, if you want to have a look at the contributions for French documentation, French translation, you can go on GitHub, or Slack even has the French translation channel, I believe, which is Kubernetes Docs-FR. That's fine if you already noticed it.
So when I was saying that I can speak French, I think my value is more than that. I'm open to contribute in any way. I think depending on the priority. I have one question for the APAC group. So what will be typically the scope for APAC? Will it be SIG Docs for each regions meetings, or is it only for APAC?
So I can answer that. So SIG Docs is such a large community that the time zones that we meet in don't always align with everybody in the wider community. So this meeting in particular is for the entire documentation website. It covers all localizations, it covers all languages, all news that pertains to SIG Docs. There is a specific localization meeting that happens, I want to say it's the first Monday of the month. And it's monthly, and they actually focus on the localization issues, the issues that folks are having doing the localization efforts. And that's really the purpose for that specific meeting. And so the meeting you're attending here for the APAC time zone is really spanning just the entire org, the entire community, the entire Kubernetes website. And what you hear here is the exact same thing that you'll hear in the Slack stand-ups. It's the exact same thing that you'll hear on our weekly 10:30 Pacific meetings every other Tuesday. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Just wondering what would be typically the discussion points for this type of meetings?
Yep. So traditionally, we have the 3 bullets that you've seen in the agenda, and if not, I can share it in chat. Let me get the link here.
I'm on it.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just sending that. And so really we have it broken out where it starts out talking about the current release cycle. There's a release lead that is kind of a liaison between SIG Docs and the SIG release team. So in this case, it was Jesse Butler, and we get a current status on the release of Kubernetes. Docs plays an important role in the release every single cycle. And so it's good to stay in tune with the release as it moves very quick. A lot of features change, and it's very beneficial. The second area about issues and PRs, we have PR wranglers, which go and actually review and approve and manage pull requests that are open. So that's an area where usually a PR wrangler or somebody who's having issues in the community could surface an issue. So for example, if I come across a pull request or a PR that I didn't know how to deal with, whether it was a personal opinion, whether it was a challenge I've never seen before, it's a great opportunity to bring up with the Docs community is, here's an issue I'm having. And then the last section you see is an open discussion. Anybody can add topics or questions or anything they want to bring up there. It's ranged from anything from what we're going to talk about at KubeCon to, for example, here I'm talking about co-chair transitions. And so folks like yourself that are new contributors, we're here to help you. We're here to make sure that you have a smooth journey to get onboarded. And so it would be a great opportunity if you had any specific questions about contributing to Docs, and people here are very friendly and be happy to help you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And hey, Ram, I don't believe we met before. Just saying hi. If you want to introduce yourself, go ahead, but feel free. There's no obligation.
Hey, everyone. My name is Ram. I work as the developer advocate for the Cloud Foundry Foundation. Just here to learn a lot about the different things that are going on with the Kubernetes community. The CF community is having a lot of overlap in terms of technical competence with Kubernetes, and I thought it'll be a great way for me to learn about Kubernetes by helping contribute where I feel I have the most strength, which is technical documentation. So here to learn as much as possible and contribute as best as I can as I go along the way.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Ram. Good to meet you. Cool. So that brings us to the end of the discussion as well. We have some time. Ram, LKLE, Lewis, if you have anything else you want to discuss, the floor is yours. Otherwise, and not to exclude anyone else, everyone can bring up a topic, but I feel like newcomers definitely might have more questions than y'all. But the floor is open. Cool. Hearing a whole lot of nothing. We'll give everybody some time back in their day. I appreciate y'all spending this evening with me or that morning, and we'll see you on Slack. Have a good one.